The nomad equestrian people arrived at the Carpathian Basin around 895 AD. They were led by Arpad. After settling down they launched adventuring campaigns, but when they were defeated in Augsburg 955, they have realized that their religion had to be Christian to integrate into other European countries. That's why Lord Géza called German, Italian priests into the country. The real founder, István, was who created the Hungarian kingdom and who confirmed the Christian religion, because these, after his death, he was sated. In the middle of the 14th century, a great plague killed many people. After this, many Romanians had settled down in Erdély. In the 15th century, Zsigmond Luxemburgi and Mátyás Hunyadi raised the country to be as strong as the other European ones. King Mátyás founded the Renaissance lifestyle, habits, culture. In 1526, Hungary was invaded by the Turkish Empire, and in the War of Mohács we were totally beaten by them. In the war, the king and the most of the aristocracy died. After the Turkish Empire took Buda, the country split into three parts: west, the Habsburg Empire; middle, the Turkish Empire; Transylvania, the Hungarians. In 1686 we finally dislodged the Turkish Empire from Hungary. The liberator legions were led by Habsburgs. Hungary became part of the Habsburg Empire. After this 150 years of Turkish domination, there were only 3.5 million people in Hungary. To many empty areas in West Germany there were Swabians imported. The war against the Habsburg enslavement was led by Ferenc Rákóczi II from 73 to 1711, but it was unsuccessful. Therefore strengthened the Habsburg force in our country. After this, there were many rules about populating the country. During the 18th century, many Germans settled in the country. At the end of the century, Buda's, Óbuda's and Pest populations, 60–75% of this were German, and the second big resettlement of the Romans to Erdély was during this time. According to this, there were less than 15% Hungarians in Hungary. During the first half of the 19th century, the Hungarians were planning to reform in the country. The Hungarian anthem was written during these times. The Hungarian Scientific Academy was founded, and the construction of the Linz Bridge has begun. A famous character of the Reformation was Széchenyi István. During the 1848 revolution wave, longing to be independent from Habsburgs became stronger. The revolutions led by Lajos Kossuth were the strongest in Europe. Finally, we were defeated by Habsburgs, who asked for help from Russia. After the War of Independence in 1867, a compromise was reached between the Habsburgs and Hungary. Austro-Hungary came into being with the centers of Vienna and Buda. This age was called the Happy Peaceful Times because of the huge industrial and political evolutions. In 1873, Buda and Pest were united into a European city. From 1880, there were multitudinous migrations from Hungary to the USA. Population in 1910. Altogether 18,164,000. Hungarian 55%. Romanian 16%. Slovakian 11%. German 10%. Russian 2.5%. Serbian 2.5%. Croatian 1.5%. Gypsy 0.5%. During the First World War, Hungary was the ally of Germany and lost the war. The monarchy was frayed. With the dethronement of the Habsburgs, Hungary could grow alone without depending on anyone. With the 1920 Trianon Peace Treaty, Hungary lost 66% of its areas. Unfortunately, the peace treaty didn't consider Hungary's ethnical borders, and several Hungarians were forced abroad. We became a nation-state, but the neighboring countries have to fight these national problems. From the connected areas, many Hungarians came back to Hungary. During the Second World War, more than 200,000 political refugees arrived in Hungary from the German areas. During the Second World War, more than 200,000 political refugees arrived in Hungary from the German areas. In the end of the war, about 60-70,000 Germans fled from the country because of the Soviet armies. In 1945, a decree treaty was born under the pressure of the Potsdam Conference about the Hungarian Germans being deported by collective culpability. So the Hungarian Germans were taken to Württemberg, Hessen and Bavaria. In the empty German towns there were national Germans and Hungarians imported because they didn't have citizenship. After 1945, our country got into the communist Soviet Union's sphere of influence. The War of Independence against the communist dictatorship blew up in 1956, and about 200,000 people left the country as protection against the communist enslavement. In 1989, the East European politics changed, and the international migrations measures and complexions have also changed. Hungary became a resettable transit country. 3 big fugitive waves. 1889, about 10,000 East German citizens receiving. From 1980, receiving fugitives continuously from Romania. 1991, South Slav fugitives, about 200,000 people.